South Carolina just landed the commitment of Landon Duckworth. We're going to take a look at the entire offensive depth and talk about how they're going to look in 26 and how they're set up for years beyond that. So we're going to touch on 25. We have to make some assumptions about how we think they'll be this upcoming season, just so we can kind of factor that into 26 and how they should approach how they build their roster. But feel free to let me know what you guys think, if there's anything I'm wrong about, any kids I'm underrating, overrating, somebody maybe that I didn't mention, feel free to bring up. And thanks for watching. We're going to start up front with this offensive line, but just a quick note on the color system that I got going on. Pinks are 5 stars, purples are 4 stars. That isn't a strict, 24/7 has a 5-star. There's a lot of 4 stars that I upgraded to pink if I personally liked them. I didn't really downgrade anybody. And the NFL eligibility doesn't necessarily mean they're eligible, but guys that I think have a better chance than 50% to be in the NFL in 2026. So a lot of assumptions being made. If you guys think I'm off base with any of them, please let me know. Anyhow, there's a good shot that USC has all 5 starters returned for 2026. Is it likely? No. A lot of these guys that are seniors very likely could be in the NFL, but a lot of them already have starting experience. Trayvon Ball, Kason Henry, Boaz Stanley have all played. They're all NFL eligible, but they're not set to graduate. I mean, you look at who's graduating, it's a lot of guys that haven't really played. So there's a very good shot that a good amount of starters are back in 26. And even if I think the guy with the biggest NFL upside on this list is Josiah Thompson, but not a guy that is even eligible in 26. So definitely the guy that, unless he transfers, will be back on this roster in 2026. I think he's the best offensive lineman on this roster. So I think you could look at USC's 2025 offensive line, and I think they're going to be really good because there's a lot of experience coming back for this upcoming season. But going into 26, if you even have 3 of these guys return, like you figure you bring back Josiah Thompson, who's locked in to return, and then if you could even just bring 2 of the starters back for 26, I definitely think that's going to put USC in a pretty good spot. And you can look, they've recruited freshmen pretty well. At the bottom there, a couple 4 stars, guys that could develop and maybe contribute in 2026, and then feel good about them going into 27 to have starters. So offensive line is one of those positions that's kind of hard to just rebuild and refresh. And I think USC's in a really good spot to have a good line, not only in 2025, not only in 2026, but ultimately really even in 2027. So very excited for what they have up front right now. We're going to move on to the quarterback room now. We already touched on Landon Duckworth, but as far as 2026 is concerned, I don't think this is a guy that you're going to see on the field all that much. I think it's going to be a bit more of a redshirt season for him to learn the offense, kind of like Aaron Noland is this upcoming season with LaNorris Sellers. Just to talk about LaNorris Sellers in 2026, I really don't think he's back on this Gamecock roster. I think it's a pretty safe assumption he's going to be in the NFL. The only conversation is going to be, really, it's not even is he a first rounder or a second rounder. It's going to be more like where in the first round does he end up going. With a really good season, it's a guy that we could hear first overall, but we're going to focus on 2026. Don't think he'll be on this roster. Really big fan of Aaron Noland. Pretty good arm, left-handed. Really like the accuracy he throws downfield. I think this kid's a pocket passer. I don't think he brings a similar skill set to the field that LaNorris Sellers does, but I certainly think Aaron Noland's going to be a very effective quarterback. Liked him a whole lot going to Ohio State. I thought Ohio State was kind of crazy for treating him the way that they did and going after Julian Sayin the way they did. I think Sayin's a hell of a quarterback, though. Like, after watching Sayin, I kind of get it. But I think Aaron Noland's a hell of a quarterback. Moving on, to Landon Duckworth, who just committed. I think he's a lot closer to what LaNorris Sellers brings. So I think ideally the quarterback lineage, if everything goes according to plan, Sellers is your quarterback in 25. Going into 26, you have a redshirt sophomore, one of the best redshirt sophomores I'd imagine in the country, in Aaron Noland, as your starter in 2026. If he's could have a year where he's so good that you talk about him in the NFL, I'd say that we're going to be talking about Aaron Noland in the NFL, not in 2027, but probably 2028 after his redshirt junior year. It's just going to be tough with Landon Duckworth on the bench to really, I don't know. That's going to be an interesting dynamic. I'm trying to map out starters for USC at every position, and 2025 is obviously Sellers. I think 2026, I feel pretty good about Noland overtaking this offense. But in 2027, I think the world of Duckworth, and I think he's going to give Noland a run for his money. But that's way down the road. Honestly, it's a good situation. It's a very good problem to have as a a football team. But we'll cross that bridge when we do get there. I feel very good about this quarterback room in its totality. Would like to see them bring in some other names. I mean, you see there's 4 names that are going to be on the roster next year, assuming Sellers is in the NFL. You'll probably see him bring in a transfer, and they might even take a bit of a lower-ranked quarterback just because it's kind of hard to bring 2 top-end quarterbacks in the same class. And Duckworth, one of my favorite quarterbacks in this 26 class. I'm not really sure if he's my top guy, but he's certainly up there. What he brings athletically, what he brings arm talent-wise, and then he also has very impressive touch outside of the numbers down the field for a high school junior. We've only seen his junior year film so far, so very excited for what he brings, and then I think Aaron Nolan's going to be very effective in 26. So I feel really good about this quarterback room, not only in 25, but in 26 and beyond. This running back room, very different. I absolutely love it for 2025. We don't even know if Rasul Faison is going to be eligible this upcoming year, and my understanding is if he's not eligible, he can't play any more college football, so I don't think this is a guy that's going to be factored into 2026. Let me know if I'm wrong, if the question's if he can't play this year and can come back next year, but I'm pretty sure they're not trying to let him play again. That's not this year, but you can just look at the names graduating. A lot of guys that are going to contribute this upcoming season. A lot of experience graduating. Looking at for what they have in 26, Augusteve's a bit of an unproven quantity. It's going to be interesting to see how he contributes to the 25 offense and how you feel about him going into 26. Jawarren Howell, the South Carolina State transfer, absolutely love him. I really can't wait for him to overtake on this offense. Probably going to see a bit of an expanded role if Faison's not playing in 2025, but a guy that will probably be on this roster in 2026. I really like him as a lead back. I think honestly in 2025 he's the most talented running back on this roster, and I think it won't be the Jawarren Howell show until 2026. Matthew Fuller, a guy I like, 4-star. But outside of that, there's just not too many names in this running back room. I mean, we only have 5 names graduated, and you can see they have 5 people graduating in 2026, and there's no commit in 2026, and there's nobody committed in this 2026 class either. So I think that's a position you're going to see him be aggressive, both recruiting wise and transfer portal. And it isn't even because the top end talent isn't good. I think Augustave can be pretty good, and I think Jawarren Howell is going to be an NFL back in the 2027 draft. I think that's really when you start talking about him in the NFL. I think the top end talent's great. I'm just looking. You get 1 or 2 injuries, and it's just not a good spot. So definitely think they're going to be aggressive in the transfer portal. And here's the point to really take home. You look at all the names in 2026 that are graduating that have been effective. A lot of them are transfers. A good deal of them are transfers. Jawarren Howell is a transfer. Augustave's transfer. So certainly can find running back talent in the transfer portal, and I definitely think they're going to be aggressive next offseason. What do good teams do? Good teams kind of build that running back room through recruiting and then supplement it with transfer portals additions. I think USC going forward, they're going to want to kind of have that homegrown talent and then sprinkle in a transfer every now and then. I think right now they're kind of relying on it a bit too much, but if it works, don't if it isn't broke, don't fix it. But I think that's really where you get the most value is recruiting your guys and developing yourself. So I think that's what you're going to see USC kind of try to focus on as they kind of take that step to the next level of program. And it's going to be a lot easier when you have a quarterback in place. And, they have the answer for quarterback for 26, 27, and 28 right now. So they're in a very good spot to be aggressive for skill positions. We're going to talk about that also with the receivers. I think the receiver room's in a much better spot depth-wise going forward. But it's so much easier to recruit skill positions when you have a good quarterback and when you have that position in place. And SC certainly has that in place right now. Now looking at that receiver room, we're going to start, just go top down, I suppose. Nick Harbor, really don't think he's on this roster in 2026. I think that's just an NFL guy. Just looking at him athletically and really at 6'5", the way he runs for 6'5", I would be very surprised if this guy's on the USC roster next year. Going to be probably second round floor, I would think, and might talk about him in the first round if he's pretty productive this upcoming season. I think he will be. So won't factor him into the 26 plans, I wouldn't think. Mazio Bennett now can't declare. I think this is a guy that contributed a lot as a true freshman. I'm so excited for him in the slot. I think he's very sudden, just has the makings of a very effective slot receiver. I think this is a guy, 27, we're going to be talking about him in the draft, so very excited about him. Tre'Davious Jacobs also really talented. Malik Clark, now this is the most talented receiver in this room, and I think he's got a shot to be better than Nick Harbor. And, I think Nick Harbor's a very good receiver. Malik Clark's going to be a top dog at some point at USC. I just don't know if it's next year, just with the guys in front of him. So, I like talking about these receivers like they're going to have a Ryan Williams, Jeremiah Smith type impact as true freshmen. I did that with Dallas Wilson. I just don't think that's going to be a spot for Malik Clark in 2025. So I think you'll see him. I think you'll see some flashes, kind of similar to how Mazeo Bennett was last year, where you see some flashes and then you feel good about him going into this upcoming season. Malik Clark, I think that's just a year behind, but I think he's going to be even better. Just a real well-rounded, with a good frame type receiver. So very excited about him. They've also recruited this position well. Lex Cyrus, Brian Rowe Jr., Jaden Sellers, Lenora Sellers, his brother. I actually flipped on the film. I don't think he was rated that high, and this kid's pretty fucking good. I really excited about Jaden Sellers. Probably won't see him contribute that much while his brother's around, but good piece going forward, I think. Sequel Patterson now is the only receiver committed in this 26 class. Really like him. Who he reminds me of a lot is Josh Downs. If you go flip on the UNC film, you want to see exactly what you get. I have a whole video out. I just really don't know what bucket to throw him in. He's so dynamic with the ball in his hands, but he didn't really do that much in high school with the ball in his hands. They've asked him to just run deep a whole lot, and I think he's got a pretty good 40 time, but 5'10", he's a bit undersized. Be interested to see how they employ him if he does end up on this 26 roster. He's only committed now, hasn't signed, but would like to see them add a couple more names. We only have this is like 7, 8 names. They're probably going to have to pick up some guys in the transfer portal and then add some more commits in. Like I said before, now that they have Duckworth in this 26 class, they can be a lot more aggressive and it's a bit more attractive to bring in receivers. Like a similar spot with DJ Lagway with how good he was, and Florida's coming off not a great season when they brought in Dallas Wilson, who could play anywhere in the country and be an instant starter pretty much. They were pretty much able to just bring him in just based on the fact that they have a quarterback. I think you could start seeing that with USC, not only with Duckworth, but also Aaron Noland and then Sellers, even though he won't be back next year. But really like this room in 25, and they got a lot of good guys coming back in 26. So I think they're set up in a good spot at this receiver room. Just finishing up with this tight end room, I think this room's going to regress going into 26, and that isn't necessarily because they aren't set up well. It's just losing Dingle and Hunt, two guys that are very, very experienced. So I don't really think that it'll be that easy to be better in 2026. You're definitely going to see him be aggressive in the transfer portal. Michael Smith's a guy that I gave one of the higher ranks that I give high school prospects. I think he's 6'6", real big, real athletic. I think this guy's got a lot of upside, but then when we start talking depth about him in 2026 and then beyond, I'm pretty sure Rome and Bose are both walk-on, so I don't really think you're going to factor them into the plans all that much. Definitely would like to see them be aggressive at this position in the transfer portal and then closing out the 2026 class. And, I say this with every position. I would like to see them be aggressive at this position. Just to go through all of them. Quarterback, I think you're pretty much set. If just get Duckworth on this roster in 2026 and then you're good. Running back, definitely a position in need. Receiver, mid, I think they're in a very good spot. Definitely would like to see him bring in some other names going forward, and we'll see how that works out. Offensive line, I feel good about also. Transfer portal, I don't think so. I think this is one that you just be very aggressive recruiting-wise, because you got the names in place. Now you start developing guys behind them, and that's really how you get a good offensive line for a long time. I think they're in a good spot there. Tight end, one I would like to see them be a bit aggressive in, just because I think Michael Smith in 2026 is the only name you're really excited about, and then we'll see how that goes. But overall, I think USC's set up to be very good for a long time, and the biggest thing is the quarterback spot. I've already waxed poetic about how good they're set up at that position. That's a big part, don't get me wrong, but that's only like 3 names. When we start talking about the offensive line, I think that's really where you get excited, because they should have a lot of experience coming back in 2026, and that just is how you build momentum and how on the recruiting trail, just as a team and as an overall unit, I really like where they're at offensive line-wise, and that kind of takes the pressure off of everything. Running backs don't have to be as good. Quarterbacks get a little bit more time. Pre-snap reads happen a bit easier when you can expect to have a bit more time, all that kind of stuff. So, receivers got a bit more time to get downfield. I think the skill positions, like where receivers at, running back, I'd like to see them bring in more names. And, I know they're going to be aggressive in the transfer portal. That's how they've treated running back. It's just kind of hard for me to talk about guys that aren't on this roster, but I'd expect them to do that. going forward, like I said before, I'd like to see them start growing some more homegrown talent at that position specifically. But Jawarren Howell, like, yeah, he is a South Carolina State transfer. In my head, this guy's a homegrown talent. But very excited to see what USC is going forward. I'll do the defense probably sometime down the line. Another unit that's in a good spot. A lot of young, talented underclassmen. But you guys let me know what you think. Anybody that I missed, any points that I missed, feel free to reach out. Or if you just want to drop Spurs up emoji or whatever, feel free. But I really appreciate you guys for watching, and have a good day.